Hey, what is going on, guys? Hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. We're going to have a fun time tonight. Got a cool topic that we'll be talking about in just a few minutes. Last week, I mentioned that I wasn't sure where Rusty was. He had told me he was not going to be there. I totally forgot. Tonight, he had to run back to his work, so he's going to be running a little late. So he'll be joining us. I haven't heard from Jonathan, so not sure if he'll be joining us or not. But we're going to have some fun tonight. I'll share a little bit of updates from a trip that I just got back from Louisiana. Amazing home theater tour. Super, super cool. Ryan, you probably have some updates on the MWAVE Experience Center. So we'll share some of that. A couple updates just real quick on MWAVE, and then we'll jump into the topic. And tonight, as you saw the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about the difference that, like how much emphasis do we put on performance versus aesthetics? Can you have both? I just think it would be a really cool topic, a fun topic. And so we'll get you guys in the chat. We'll get some of your thoughts as well. So Ryan, want to give us an update on the MWAVE Experience Center? What you got going on there, man?
What has happened? What has transpired? The Griffin showed up.
Heck yeah, man.
So that was exciting. It is Christie in their box design. It's well done.
Is it cool?
Like sometimes you get something, you're like, man, this could be done better, but this is a big product.
Sure.
And it's, I mean, the projector is probably 4 feet long and like 20 inches tall and probably 2 feet wide. So it's big. It weighs 200 pounds. And they made how they did the box and the packing. The box is built in on top of the pallet. Okay. So the pallet is part of the packaging, and you unstrap it, and then the sides and the top just lift off.
Nice.
Like it's not, you don't have to do anything. So then you have full, easy access into the projector. You don't have to reach into anything. You don't have to do anything. It's just right there. So it's those little things that I've really grown to appreciate, because it made it way easier. I didn't have to destroy the box to get it out. Because if they did it so I couldn't take the sides off, I would have had to cut it since they're reaching in, and it just would have been a pain in the butt. So that was great. So the Griffin is here. It's in the theater. It's just sitting on the floor. It's not
right.
And the lens is here, and it's just sitting on the floor in its box. We didn't even take it out. What else? Getting bids on a. Go
before
ahead.
You go there, paint the picture. How big is that? Because
how big is what?
The projector.
So it's. What can I
like roughly?
I mean, it's like 4 feet long, 2 feet wide, and 20 inches wide.
Think about that: 2 feet wide, 4 feet stinking deep. What is it? Maybe
the box the lens came in is like 2 feet long.
Yeah,
for the lens,
big boy.
It's a big boy. I mean, it's.
So I'm assuming most of the lens fits inside the housing. Is that?
I don't know. I haven't opened it yet.
But you've seen them. Like
I mean, there's several inches that are going to go into it and then turn in. So it's just sitting in the.
That's awesome, man.
Unfinished space right now. The next thing I had got a couple bids from electricians last week. I got another bid coming tomorrow. And the electrical stuff we're going to do, because it's the Experience Center is done in such a way that we can run wire just outside the wall. So and people won't be able to see it. It's not hard, but we totaled everything up, and it's going to be 15 circuits.
Nice.
So we're going to run a 100 amp sub panel to the other part of the basement where the racks are going to be, instead of running a bunch of cables over there. And it's just going to make it a lot easier.
Yeah, they're going to need to run a substation, a little substation just to your neighborhood.
So what I learned about power is we have 200 amps coming to my house. And what I learned is residential power is dual phase. I knew that, but I didn't know really what that meant. And one of the electricians told me that dual phase means effectively that if a device is taking, say, 50 amps, right, it's going to put 25 of those amps, or it won't, but this is how it's divided. 25 of those amps will go on A phase, and 25 of those amps will go on B phase. So you actually have more power than you think you do. I didn't know this. Okay. So I thought that was really interesting. We were going through all the circuits, and we're doing watt box for all the power distribution. It's not like I need to do that. I mean, it's a showroom. It's an
Yeah.
experience center. So being able to see like there's going to be a 20U rack just for power and networking, and
Nice.
it allows us to put um, surge protection for each of the amps. And I can't just run them all into the same watt box because that would put them all in the same circuit. So
Yeah.
there's 10 watt boxes, and everything's just more than is necessary, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. So then Doug continues to work on the sub. He's doing amazing work.
Nice.
We've gone
He's
through.
such a craftsman, man.
He is, and he really is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a slow process, but he's very, very diligent about everything. He hasn't wasted anything. We've gone through 20 sheets of Baltic birch. They've all been cut. And then what else has happened? So the electrical, hopefully the electrical will be done next week or the week after.
Right.
And then the room should arrive, the officina part of it should arrive on the 28th. It's got to go through customs. So hopefully the first week of June, it'll be on its way to me. And then Cameron from Insane AV in Houston and Maurizio from Officina Acustica are coming in. We'll get it installed. That also means that in the next week or two, I've got to get all the speakers and subs here. So there's 5 pallets of speakers and subs sitting at our storage location that have got to get moved. The 32s are already down here. What else? The floor's done. The floor looks awesome. Everybody's really shocked at when they walk into it, how dark it is. Like we have flashlights because there's no electrical in there right now.
Sure.
We have flashlights, but how the room is set up right now, it eats light. Like it's not bright at all, even with like big DeWalt flashlights.
Right.
It's going to be really, really dark. I'm really excited
Nice.
about it. How it's all.
What color are the floors?
Matte black.
Okay, so it's just black.
It's black, and then we're going to put a black rug, and then the walls are going to be black, and they're going to come into like a dark gray. They'll transition into a dark gray. What else? Anything else? I just got back from Puerto Rico.
Nice.
I had to do a calibration down there on an Ascendo system, Black Swans, and I think the 10s. And it was sounded so good. Didn't really have to do much. It came together really, really good. I'd never been to Puerto Rico. That was a lot of fun. Have you ever been to Puerto Rico?
I've been once.
It's shocking how Americanized it is. I mean, it is an American territory, but it's felt like I was just in another state.
Yeah.
Didn't feel, I don't know. I felt like feel more like the Caribbean, and it didn't.
Oh yeah. So I haven't seen like the countryside of it, or like
I haven't seen that part.
You know what I'm saying? Like the uncommercialized.
Yeah, I went through San Juan and that area. So just got back from that last night. And then where am I going? On Tuesday, I'm going to the official grand opening of the Trinov Experience Center in Connecticut.
Nice.
So that'll be exciting.
Matthew Pose was telling me about that. He's going to be there.
Oh, I didn't know Matt was going to be there. So that'll be fun. It's not a end user event. It's for dealers and vendors and stuff. So it'll be good to see everybody in a more relaxed setting, right?
Sure.
I think it's going to be a more of just a fun get to experience stuff. And it is Black Swans, the 12s. They have a 32, and I think multiple 21s, if I remember correctly. So that's how I've been. That's what's going on with my life in the experience center and all that stuff. What about you?
Cool.
You had your thing, which I think is what spurred this whole topic.
Yeah, it did.
But how have you been?
Yeah, I've been doing great. So we left, Brad and I, Home Theater Gamer, we flew out to Louisiana to film another home theater. This is a really big home theater. So if you guys remember the $1 million Star Wars home theater, this is his father-in-law, and it's pretty much identical. Dad, or I'll just call him Dad. Dad wanted a theater very similar, but he didn't care about Star Wars. He's 78 years old. He loves like Westerns. And so he grew up watching John Wayne and Clint Eastwood. And so he's like, man, I'd like to build one similar to yours, but what if we did a Western theme? So Charlie, the homeowner of the Star Wars home theater, he's just such a visionary, man. And he began to think it through and draw up on paper, like, hey, here's what we could do. Here's some ideas. And he loved it. And they teamed up with Atlanta Home Theater again, and they built this incredible, not just home theater, but it's an experience. Talking about, a true home theater experience. You walk down the hallway and it's like you're inside a building. You're basically in a brothel. Um, there's like all different types of pistols, different, calibers, different sizes. And basically these are all pistols that would have been used in various films, in these old Western movies. And so he's describing to him, he's like, yeah, that's one that, John Wayne used to use in this movie, and this guy used to use in this movie, and Wyatt Earp or whatever. And so just to hear this gentleman's story was phenomenal. And so I won't share everything on it, but it's just a cool vibe, man. You hear music going on. There's an ambience. The lighting's real dim. It's modern technology, but it looks kind of antique. It looks like what it would have been back in the day. And then you get to the very end of the hallway, and you push a button and it opens up, and then you're leaving the inside of the building and you're going out into the street. And so inside this, the street is the theater room, and the carpet represents like the dirt in between the two sides of the town. So on one side you got like the barber shop, and you got the bank, and you got the hardware store, and then on the other side you got three other buildings. In the back you've got I think it was the gunsmith. It was just super dope, man.
I never thought after the corruption we put on you at Scott Newby's that you would then go to a brothel.
Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't know. And there's a cool story. Wait till you see the video, because the way what he tells me, man, I just start busting out laughing. It's pretty funny. But it was just really cool. Yeah, Nicholas says I went to a brothel. He also mentioned earlier, let's see if I can find his comment. He said, oh yeah, he said I was sucking heads in Louisiana. Now that sounds weird. What he's talking about is I had my first crawfish boil. Dude, that was awesome. It was really, really good. So I learned how to do. I did suck the juice out of the head. Just tastes like salt water. So that was super cool, man. It was an awesome trip. Now it was real quick. We flew in on, I think, on a Wednesday. We filmed. We didn't get there till 11:30 at night. We left at 6 a.m. on Thursday. Got there at 11:30 at night. Long story there, but that was basically just due to a lot of weather changes, and a 1.5 hour Uber ride, and because there was no car rental available at all. Like,
Really?
none. And we had even paid for one. We technically paid for 4, canceled 3. Yeah, it was a hot mess that whole day, but we got there. It was great. Had an amazing trip. Saw some wild horses in their neighborhood. They had like 9 horses, 8 horses that are just wild. So that was cool. It tied in with the theme of this gentleman that we, filmed his theater. Even in throughout his whole home, he's got horses painted, like hand paintings. You'll see that in the video and in the hallway. Just super, super cool time. Of course, we got to spend time with Michelle and Charlie, and they're such great hosts. They've got a gorgeous home theater, and a beautiful, oh my gosh, beautiful home. I think it's like 15,000 square feet. I mean, it's a big home. But yeah, man, it was just a fun trip. And then we loaded up on early Friday morning. We're back here in Florida. So it was literally a 3-day trip, but 1 day of filming.
Yep.
So that's going to it'll probably take me a week or 2 to finish that video. But yeah, it's going to be cool. It's going to be, I'm just going to throw this out there. It's going to be very different than my typical home theater tour. Put it that way.
Okay.
Even just the cadence of it,
mm-hmm.
In our speech and how I'm interacting with this gentleman. Because again, he's 78 years old. Man, his story is so, so beautiful. I can't wait to share it. But yeah, we had just a fun time, man.
Croson.
What is
Michael was not in Fist City. It's okay.
No, definitely not there. Not there. I wasn't in. But like I said, man, it was a fun trip. And but yeah, man. So that video, look for that video to come up. Hopefully, like I said, maybe it'll take me about a week to edit it. There's a lot going on, man. We got MWAVE stuff going on. We got a couple trips going on. Yeah, it's just nonstop from here till the end of Cedia is when it'll slow down for me. But I know he's doing a lot of traveling. Yeah, I heard that term too, Van Gogh, mud bugs. A lot of people mention that. So yeah, but it was cool. I tell people, I told them I'm willing to try just about anything once, especially eating. But if I don't like it, I'm not eating it again. And honestly, I'd eat it again. It was really good. They just put so much seasoning in there, you know. So it's not like, we have lobster and boiled shrimp here in Florida. There's not a ton of seasoning other than butter,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, they got like spices, and I mean, it's like, heck yeah, man. So, all right. Well, we're going to get right into the topic tonight. Before we do that, big, huge thanks to Ascend AV for being a podcast sponsor. So if you need anything, hit Ryan up. You can email him at Ryan@ascendav.net, and he'll hook you up. So if you got questions, we'll hit those a little bit later on. Drop those in the chat. And I've been starring some already. I think Ryan has too. While I've been talking, I haven't read any of your comments. So hopefully I didn't miss any. I think so.
Nicholas, I am always hungry. It doesn't matter. It's dangerous. When I get bored, I get fat.
Yeah.
Which my wife hates. She's like, why are you always doing something? I'm like, I'm trying not to get fat. I'm sorry.
This is funny, man. I'm looking at all these. That's okay. I'm looking at all these comments about the brothel and Youthman just doesn't compute. Yeah, it was definitely interesting, but it was, like I said, it was just, I guess that's typical in old Westerns. Like that was just a big part of their day, and that, having the whole bar scene, like Croson said, I mean, it's a saloon, it's a bar, it's a place to go relax. And I'll just tell you this, he actually has stairs going up to the area. It's the craziest vibe in the world, man. So yeah, it was wild. But like I said, just super kind gentleman. Really, really, really. I can't wait to share that story. So all right. So tonight, I just want to see real quick. Yeah, let me hit this real quick. Anthony, man, I hope you guys get everything worked out there. It's a mess down in Houston area. Like I said, our flights were just massively delayed. We sat in Orlando airport on the runway for 90 minutes waiting to take off. And then they finally got a chance to take off. So we missed our connecting flight, and it was just a big ordeal. So I know you guys are getting hammered down there. So hopefully, or got hammered. Hopefully all that's getting worked out. Are they still experiencing bad weather now?
Well, I had heard that electrical prices also went up like 1,600% because of the weather.
Whoa.
And the heat wave and all of that here in the spring, because Texas has an independent grid, and it's just how they do it. I'm not talking positively or negatively about it. Just something I heard. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and the weather's not being kind.
Yeah.
And Texas is a little too far south. I don't know. Kansas. I've said this before on the stream. Kansas is like the butthole of the United States. Everything comes here and just craps out all over us underneath it. So we get hot. Hottest we got last year with the heat index was like 130-ish.
Yeah.
And then we hit the coldest we got. This did not include the wind chill this year. I was just looking at my thermometer, my weather station in the backyard. Hit without the heat and the wind chill, it hit -10. So Kansas, I think, is pretty well set up to deal with most of this. We're all accustomed to dealing with it. I just think you get into some of these states, not that Texas isn't set up to deal with the heat, but when you start accompanying that with cold and all of this stuff coming together and more severe weather, and it's just, I feel for them, man. It's rough.
Yeah. They got blasted pretty.
Hopefully everybody's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
so
a big concern.
Some schools canceled all next week, last week of the year. Yeah.
Now, is it canceled because of the heat or because power outages, or what's the deal?
I think they're just dealing with the aftermath. You think we can handle wind with hurricanes? Yeah, yeah. That's really all we get. I say all we get, but that's what we deal with here in Florida.
Yeah.
So let me throw this out there real quick, man. Love to have you join us for MWAVE. We are 32 days away. We're pumped. It's going to be a great event. There's a huge show this year. We've got tons of vendors for you to experience, lots of home theater experiences at the show. Of course, there's the VIP home theater experiences that you can purchase separately. That happens the day before the show on Thursday. But it's going to be a great time. You can get all the details on the website. We also have, I don't really think I probably announced it maybe last week on the podcast, but not on the channel. But we've got a bunch of seminars and tech talks that are going to happen in the rooms of the vendors. It's just going to be really, really cool. So hope you guys can make it out to the Midwest AV experience. We're going to have a great time. Drew, appreciate the $10 super chat. Is there a way to connect with MWAVE attendees? Because of flight times, I'll be there early on Wednesday. Kind of a long time to go solo until Friday evening. Great question, Drew. Probably the best way to connect with attendees would be through the MWAVE Discord group.
Yep.
On the website, Midwest AV Experience, go up to, I think it's called Connect with Us. And then in the drop-down menu, there's a link to Discord. So the Discord server, there's definitely plenty of, what do they call them, channels? There's a MWAVE channel on the left. So if you're not familiar with Discord, it's pretty easy to navigate. If you have any questions, shoot me an email on the, from the website, or hit me up on Facebook or whatever. I'll get you squared away. But that's probably the best way. Unfortunately, we can't just, we can't share everybody's information like emails or anything. But I would do this, either or both. Also, the MWAVE Facebook group. So you can post something there as well, saying, hey, I'm coming in early. Anybody want to connect together? And then you can connect that way. So there's definitely a couple ways that you can get in touch with some folks. So, man, we're excited that you're coming. It's going to be a great time hanging out with you and others and all the vendors. All right. So tonight's topic, aesthetics versus, Ryan, can you make a banner real quick? Just something simple. Click on banners.
Yes.
Great banner. Just pop one up there while I'm talking. So I'll kind of set the stage here. When I attended the home theater tour, or the home theater tour this past weekend, it was called the Tombstone Home Theater. And I posted a couple of photos while I was there, and somebody commented, they had a question. They were like, okay, when the lights go out, you don't have a pitch black room. Mm-hmm. What about reflections? And I just responded. I said, yes, there's definitely some reflections. When you're watching a movie, you're going to see some reflections on the sidewalls, because the front seats aren't like right up against the screen. So you have a decent amount of the town, at least maybe say a quarter of the town in front of you on the sides. And so you do see those. And my comment to him was, this gentleman, he's 78 years old, and you'll see in the video, he is so enamored with his setup. Like, you could just see the amount of joy. And at the end of the video, he gets kind of emotional about like his experience in his theater. And I said, the reality at the end of the day, man, that's what matters. But I started thinking about that. I'm like, man, there's always this kind of maybe a debate. And there's choices that we have to make when we're making our theater room. Do we lean on the side of performance? Do we lean on the side of aesthetics to please the wife, or even to please you and to make something cool and to make a man cave? Or maybe is there even some space in between, to be able to kind of get both? And so I just thought it'd be a fun conversation. And so when I'll kind of kick it off, and then I'll pass it off to Ryan. In my theater room, it's a combination of both. So it's not all aesthetics. I mean, my room is treated. It's not I didn't have somebody design it. I took a room, an existing room in our home, and made it into a theater room. And so I didn't hire an architect. I'm not building a room inside of a room with, drywall, double green glued, all that stuff. I think I had it backwards, double drywall green glue, and the clips and all that stuff. So I didn't have the luxury of doing that, but I did the best that I could with the acoustics. But I also wanted something to be different, and I had a friend of mine build my cabinet for me. And so this has a lot of sentimental value to me, like probably more than I could ever share on this video. But he built the cabinet, and as soon as I posted photos of maybe this being built, and then once we got it installed, I got quite a few comments saying, "Oh man, Youthman, I would have painted that black. I would have stained that black. That's going to have so many reflections." Does it have reflections? Yeah, you can see some reflections in it. But I've never once started to watch a movie, and in the middle of the movie, I go, "Oh man, those reflections are killing me. I should have painted that thing black." You know what I'm saying? When I get immersed into the movie, I'm in like enveloped. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm involved in the movie, man. I mean, like I'm there. It's like I'm in the movie. And so the distractions aren't enough in my room to take away from the experience that I'm having. Some people, you may have a white ceiling. Well, if you want to kind of get rid of some reflections, you got to at least make it darker, whether it's black paint, which that's still going to have some reflections. So technically, are you going to lose some contrast on your screen? Could it wash back on? Sure. So I think it's an interesting conversation to have, like, and Ryan, he'll share on, like, his room is way different than the way I designed my room. But I just think it's interesting. Let me know in the chat kind of I like how Ryan put it, which side are you on? Like in your own home theater, even if it's in your living room or whatever, let us know. Is it more on performance and we're not talking about like a speaker, a speaker being beautiful and decorative, more like the room. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, it can apply to.
Well, let's talk about everything. I mean,
Okay.
how much, because there was a comment in here. Where did it go? Somebody was talking about Bowers and Wilkins. Oh, it was this super chat. High Finest says, "Love this topic. I've been drawn to the Bowers and Wilkins 800 series for over 20 years. Bought the D4 series without even hearing them because their sound wouldn't change the aesthetic for me. Hashtag no regrets."
No regrets. I like it.
So I think this plays a big role for a lot of people.
Sure.
And I think it plays a big role. Well, not just for a lot of people. I think it plays a big role for almost everybody. There's aesthetics in everybody's room.
Yeah.
Starting at the basics, though, I think people need to understand that every home theater, regardless of how balls to the wall you go, is a series of compromises, right? There's always going to be some level of compromise. Let's talk about the Mad VR Experience Center. One of the biggest compromises in my room in the Experience Center is ceiling height. I can't get higher than 89 inches. It's as high as I can go. Room size, room shape, right? These are all compromises that have to be dealt with. And people, I think, are always going to, or some people say, well, this room was built without any compromise. Well, there's always a compromise.
Yeah.
Many compromises in everything: speaker placement, EQ, projector choice, screen placement, seating. I mean, everything has some level of compromise because you're never going to be able to get the ideal. There's always going to be something that impacts that, whether it be a minute percentage, like a 1/4%, 0.5%, or significantly. So I think this is just a compromise. Which way are you compromising? Right? Do you want the aesthetic and then you're compromising that a little bit for performance, or you want the performance and you're compromising a little bit for the aesthetic? I think they both exist in everybody's room.
Yeah.
Even the ones that you think don't have any. I mean, there's still something, because at the end of the day, at least for me, and maybe I'm speaking out of line here, but at least how I see it, you have to want to go in the room. Right?
Yeah.
You're not going to want to go into a place that is chaotic, that doesn't have the vibe that you want it to have.
Sure.
So that is an aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that is, there is some aesthetic that everybody is going to appreciate. My aesthetic in what we've designed the Mad VR experience room to be is minimalism.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that is about, right? I want the focus to be on the audio and the video.
Yeah.
Now, there is an aesthetic with the Officina Acustica space and how the couch is laid out and the treatments and the rug and how the screen is going to be set up. That is absolutely an aesthetic. It's just mine is minimalistic. That's
Mm-hmm.
been the direction that I have envisioned for the experience center.
Right.
And it's going to be different for everybody. Like your vision for what you wanted for your space is totally different than what I wanted. It's the
Correct.
same thing with how you want your audio to be, what speakers we all prefer, what video and how you want it to be. Everybody is going to have their own compromise and their own draw towards
Yeah.
whatever side it's going to be. I think it's just important to, at the end of the day, make the room a
Mm-hmm.
place that you want to go and you
Sure.
want to be in.
And Hurt
That's how I
nails
look
that
at it.
too. He said it gets you in the going to the movies mood. You know, I think is he talking about that? I'm looking to see.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell, like, because sometimes they'll comment like after we've said something, but I took that as like, man, you know, if you build it aesthetically, but also have great performance, then it's going to make you want to go in there, you know, more often.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's, you know, some people, if they build a room and it's kind of cold and not temperature wise, but just the vibe of it, it's like, I've heard people say the wives have no desire to go down there, especially like down in the basement. They're like, I ain't going down there. It's kind of spooky, you know?
Well,
And
I
I've
think
been looking at,
people go ahead.
I was just saying, I've been looking at a lot of your comments. I'm just putting them up while you're talking and, you know, saying some of them 100% performance. My room looks like somebody vomited a home theater into my living room. So yeah, we all have different, you know, kind of thoughts on, you know, how our room should be.
Mm-hmm. I see this a lot in the rooms that I go into, and there's everybody's aesthetic is very, very different from
Yeah,
everybody else. Very different. And
sure.
it's amazing how different it can be.
Hmm.
We're all people, but what we envision the end product to be is
Hmm.
totally different. And it's
Yeah.
really interesting to see what people's vision is. There's no right or wrong way to do it.
Now the
It's all
internet will
about,
tell you there's wrong.
well, the
Like,
internet
how
can,
would they always do this? It's cool, but ain't my taste, you know,
it's
like
cool, but
it's ugly.
there's always a
So
but. Man,
I like MW. He says, so
your
long
butt
as you
can
have
fall off a cliff.
he says, so long as you can be transported to another place when watching or listening, and everybody will have different tolerance of distractions to make that happen. For
Mhm.
sure, man. So Chris says it's always going to be a work in progress. I'll start with the aesthetics with wall treatments, but ultimately it comes down to performance. And I think here's the one thing I would caution you is when you're building your room, even if you have to, all right, well, I guess let's think this through. By implementing aesthetics, sometimes, not always, but sometimes that means that's a compromise in performance. And sometimes that you just have to weigh the scale and figure out, is that compromise okay? Is that going to be a total detriment to the sound quality
It's
or the
always a compromise. Every time. Even an aesthetically transparent screen is a compromise
okay, I can see what you're saying there.
because it impacts
Yeah, I
the
could see
frequency
that.
response,
And
right? There's no way around it.
yeah,
It
but what if,
impacts the frequency
all right,
response.
so I guess here's what I'm saying. What if you're all right, here's an aesthetic. An aesthetic could be putting a print on your acoustic panels like these back here,
Mm-hmm.
wherever it is right there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't get out of the way. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
that's an aesthetic that doesn't impact performance.
Maybe. I don't
No,
know.
it doesn't. No, it doesn't. There's no way. Sound's going to go through that fabric, even if it's printed. Come on in, Rusty.
My point with that was going to be is, do you have to choose a certain fabric in order to print on it? And are there better fabric choices that would not allow you to fabric print on them? So
It
there's
could.
always, it
But can
doesn't,
you hear that? But can you hear that difference though?
but you could measure it.
Who cares? I don't care if it measures different if I
I'm
can't hear
taking
it.
this to the extreme. My point is that technically, I think every decision you make is a compromise, whether
It
you
could
can
be.
hear it or not.
Yeah.
Measurably, everything
Yeah.
that you're doing is a compromise.
Rusty, you're just in time, man. Did you get everything worked
I
out at
know.
work?
I did.
Awesome.
Nothing goes according to plan here lately, but it's all right.
No.
That's life.
So you
Hey,
perfect
Ryan. Ryan's like, yeah.
Yeah, I know that
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
Nothing going according to plan and things taking longer than they should and waiting and yeah.
Well, the part that kills me is when the most simple thing becomes like a day-long project.
Oh,
It's
for
like,
sure.
I've done this a million times. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I can't fault any of the parties involved on me. It's a
Yeah.
lot of things going on and it's a lot of distance to traverse and it'll get done.
So Rusty, you're just in time. So Ryan and I have shared kind of our thoughts on the whole performance versus aesthetics, especially when it comes to your room. But we even talked a little bit about, you know, there's some speakers that have aesthetics, you know, and, you know, does that impact performance? It could possibly. But what are your thoughts on aesthetics versus performance, and even tie in like your own room and some decisions that you've made?
Yeah, I think this is a great topic because like Ryan was just saying, it's all about compromises, and my approach to life is no compromises. Like, I don't like to make compromises, but you're always going to make some compromise somewhere, and it's usually on budget if you're stubborn about the other things. I like to have a clean look, like to like kind of a minimalist look to things
Sure.
if I can. But it is very difficult to achieve that look unless you do in-wall speakers, unless you, I don't know what you even do for acoustic treatments. I guess you could do, like
You'd have to
Ryan
do
did
like
and have the
Ryan
room
did,
within a room.
Yeah, it's like a fabric wall. What do they call that? Panel wall, Ryan?
Yeah.
Where
Fabric
where you don't have like protruding acoustic panels.
Yeah,
just
like a
floating
fabric
around.
stretch wall.
Yeah, fabric stretch wall.
Yeah.
And I think like Grant's theater that he was he hosted the first 2 years, and he did a really good job of that, of making it aesthetically pleasing, but it's also very well acoustically treated.
Yeah.
But if you're just buying stuff off a GIK and hanging it on the wall, like there's stuff that looks better than others, and their stuff looks pretty nice, but it's still, you got a lot of stuff bolted onto your wall unless you build an entire room or a new wall. So I like I definitely like a clean look, and I put a value on that, but it's got to perform well first. So if it's performing and then I can make it also pretty, then I will. But I'm going to put more emphasis on the performance. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I think that's where I'm at. I want it to be inviting. I want it to be, and somebody made a good point here. Right. Oh, where'd it go? Right here. So Herc says, headrest compromises the sound, depending on your setup. So in my setup, Herc, I feel a little different on that just because my speakers are mounted higher. They're angled down at a 45-degree angle, and I'm always in a reclined position. So I never have an obstructed view from my headrest ever.
But the compromise there is your speakers are up higher.
Well, my speakers are up higher because the compromise, I don't want people face planting when they come in. You didn't care in your last, setup, man. People bump their heads. They're like, sorry, buddy, you should have ducked.
Yeah, it's your problem.
So that was my compromise. I wanted to mount them up for safety reasons. So, and I've also got a door back there that's mounted, that's in the way. So, but yeah, I think there's, even when you build a room from scratch, I think sometimes there's compromises too. You just have to figure out like what's more important to you, performance, aesthetics. Do you want to do a combination of both? We went into a gentleman's home. I don't remember I think it was the Kansas City. No, I'm sorry. I think it was the Wisconsin, Illinois. And this guy was the first time I'd ever seen anything like this. You walk in the room and it's a void. Like
the all black velvet room.
Void. He put velvet. And he said, I started off on the walls and then I'm like, man, I see some reflections on the ceiling, even though it's painted. So I'm going to put velvet on the top. And then he started putting velvet on his speakers. I mean, everything in the room, velvet. And so when you shut the lights off, bro, you can't see a dang thing. I mean, it is pitch black, but there's also zero character to that room. Like straight up no character.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I don't want that. You know, when I went to this gentleman's home, you know, he's got this crazy, elaborate, ornate, literally a town, you know, from a Western movie in his theater room, you know. And so that's on the other side where there's a huge amount of detail taken into aesthetics. And even before you even get into the theater room, he wants to create this vibe that you're about to walk outside into, you know, the town. And so that was awesome. But everybody has their own. And so Herc does mention, he says reflections on the headrest. Sure. Some people's bald heads could, no offense, fellas, but some people's bald heads are a compromise. I mean, at least I got hair that absorbs it. There's just poing, bounces off.
Well, see, I'm good. It's just the people in the room with me that have to worry about it.
That's right. They're getting the shady performance.
Yeah.
So he said, oh, go ahead.
So without spoiling the video, do you feel that by his emphasis on aesthetics, did it compromise the performance?
So it's hard to tell, because the only way to know is if you were to take that same exact system, put it in a room that is 100% treated, you know,
It absolutely compromised the video.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. Ask your question again.
The performance
on the video?
No, just in general. Did the guy's room that you were in last weekend, the aesthetic compromise the performance?
I mean, I'm sure it did to some extent. Yeah. Because one thing I wondered is, so they got real creative. You can see windows in the town. Well, behind the windows are either, sometimes sometimes it's both, but a lot of times it's speakers behind there. But it's if you think about a window pane, there's a vertical and then there's several horizontals. And my thought was like, okay, are there some reflections going on there? There probably is. You know what I'm saying? It's not just a solid black sheet. It's, you know, does that make sense? Ryan's got like a strange look. Do you know what I'm saying though?
Yeah.
Like what I'm just, okay. I wasn't sure if you were tracking with me.
Aesthetic compromises performance. Like even my aesthetic in the experience center, what it's going to do is the aesthetic that I decided to go with. Since it's not all black, I'm potentially losing a little bit of contrast. I mean, there's nothing I can do about that, but the decision was made to go that direction because it provided some, as you said earlier, when you walked into the void, that all velvet theater, there was no character. And that was a decision that they made to go all after performance. The color change provides some aesthetic, right?
Sure.
So it has some level of character.
Right.
And that was an aesthetic decision.
And with this home theater, I mentioned it earlier, you know, so one compromise would be the fact that you're seeing some reflections on the side. So that could potentially draw your eyes off the screen and you're like, oh, there's a town. You forget you're in the movie. But then again, if you're watching the Western, and it's funny, this dude, he's 78 years old. He's got his entire Kaleidoscape collection, except for 2 movies that I know of that I saw in there, were all Westerns. Every one of them.
That's insane.
Every one of them. But he's 78
crazy.
years old, man. He didn't grow up with John Wick. He didn't grow up with Marvels. He grew up with John Wayne, you know, those types of things. But he had 2 movies. He had, what was it? Maverick and, what did I say the other one was? Maverick and
John Wick.
John Wick 4. Yep. And my guess is that was just Charlie probably bought those so that he could do some cool demos and check it out. Because he told what Charlie said. He said, Michael, Tully hardly ever, like, he doesn't listen to music and movies like we do. You know, it's not even anywhere near reference. It's really a lot lower. You know, that's what he prefers. But that's what he wanted. He accomplished what he wanted. And it was amazing. But I saw somebody comment, they're like, what a waste to build all of that to watch a Western. And I'm like, but you missed the point. You missed the point. The point is not about Atmos. The point is not about bass. The point is not about any of that stuff. The point is your room bringing joy and happiness to you and your friends and your family. And if it meets that, I don't care what volume you're listening to. I don't care how big your screen is or how bright, how many lumens you're getting out of it. If you're excited about it and it gets you watching movies, dude, that's what it's all about. So
I don't see myself ever doing a themed room because there's not any theme that I like enough to be that committed to. Like you said, his entire movie collection is Westerns.
Correct.
Well, I like a little bit of everything. It's same with Star Wars. I think I like Star Wars, but it's not the only thing I like. So I'd have a hard time committing to one theme. Yeah.
Charlie even mentioned in the video, he's like, look, if we ever move, he said, I'm not doing a theme room again. He's like, I mean, number one, it's a lot of work. I mean, a lot of, especially the level that they went to. I mean, it's insane. So
different strokes for different folks.
Yeah. But you got to make it your own. You got to make it your own. And you just got to weigh that decision. Like, what's more important to you? Be careful that you don't overemphasize aesthetics. That was just, like I said, that'd be my word of caution, that you think through it and go, okay, how can what's that?
I don't know. It's everybody's journey. That's like saying it's not okay for somebody's favorite color to be green. It has to be blue. Right. It does. If it doesn't impact you and it makes them happy at the end of the day with how they did it.
Yeah. And
let them do it.
Yeah. But again, I think you can do both.
I think it is important to consider both, but regardless of what the end result is, however that ends up being.
Yeah. If they're happy with it,
they're happy. They're happy.
I just think you can do some things that will increase the performance. It might take away a little bit of the aesthetics.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
I guess that's my thought.
I think it's important to weigh what the compromise and what you're losing and what you're gaining, depending on which way you swing.
Yeah.
But I'm just highlighting that I think it's important to not pass judgment on anybody for the design decisions that they decided to do with their room. I mean, it's their room. Now, if they were building it for you, different story, but it's their room.
Yeah. It's kind of like pizza. You know, there's different kinds of pizza, and people criticize me because I like pineapple on my pizza.
Yeah. Well, you're wrong.
And I respect everybody's right to be wrong.
That's right. That's right, man. I love it. Cool, man. Yeah, I was looking at some of the comments in the chat. Yeah, it's a hobby, man. Let them be them. But it's interesting. Sometimes we take it upon ourselves. I say we as collective society. We feel that we have to interject our opinion on the decisions that somebody else made on their theater. And I'm like, why did we feel the need to do that?
I think it's for whatever reason, people feel the need to do that in almost everything. Like, just let people be.
It's the comment section. We ask for comments.
Yeah.
No. I'm not talking about this. I'm just talking about in general.
Like in general, people, they have their opinion. Somebody will post their, their home theater or a photo of somebody else's
choice or why they chose something or whatever.
Oh, man.
Geez, man.
And
let them be.
They have to tell you how that could have been better. And maybe that's a pride thing. Maybe that's because I know something that they don't, and they're just trying to prove themselves. I don't know what it is, man. First time disagreeing with you, man. Pineapple on pizza is yuck mouth's delight, dude. You are missing out on life if you don't do some ham and.
Okay, I won't do ham, but
Oh, ham and
I'll just get
pine?
my own pizza.
Yeah, true.
Then we both get our own pizza.
Mm. Now, what about crawfish pizza? Now,
No,
that would be.
Hmm,
They may do that in Louisiana, dude.
they probably do.
maybe.
That, man.
I
Mayo
mean,
and
people do sardines.
well, yeah.
I
What's
put
wrong with
mayo on cheese.
I mean, I
Like
do
you
that
just
on
eat
everything.
mayo on cheese and that's it?
Yeah. Hey, teaches
Maybe
on.
that's a Denmark thing.
Okay, so I used to put, I don't really do it anymore, but I used to put ketchup on my green beans as an adult.
I didn't know
Don't know
that was a
why.
thing.
I don't know why. I just I'd put ketchup on my macaroni and cheese too.
That's good.
It was really good,
I've
dude.
never had that.
That's right.
It's like putting
Ham,
hot
black
sauce on
bean,
macaroni and
pineapple.
cheese or on your eggs and stuff.
Yeah, I've done that on the eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh, that's
So
funny.
an
Well, go ahead.
interesting thing that we had in Puerto Rico is Puerto Ricans don't really view chicken as a breakfast meat.
Okay.
Right? So Chick-fil-A is there.
Mm-hmm.
And we got Chick-fil-A for breakfast one of the days.
Mm-hmm.
They put, have you guys been to Chick-fil-A for breakfast?
Mm-hmm.
Like their
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
chicken
Yeah.
biscuits and stuff.
Mhm.
So,
Sure.
and this isn't outrageous. It was just something that the States ones don't do. They
Mhm.
put an egg on the chicken and biscuit.
That'd be good.
It was
Yeah.
really good. And I'm like, why
I've
don't
had
they
egg
do
on
that here?
Have you done an egg on a hamburger?
Oh yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
delicious. But my point with that is that it was just, I don't know why I went that direction, but it was just really
Mhm.
good.
For
And it was
sure.
a decision that I liked, but maybe you don't like. And if you don't like it, well, you're wrong. But no, in actuality, it's just we all have our own likes, dislikes, desires, direction. Just help people be who they want to be. And if it doesn't impact you and your video experience,
Mhm.
let them have at it as long as they're happy.
Sure. Got two more regarding aesthetics comments here. And then I've got a super chat. Kevin says aesthetics is what keeps me using my theater. I need that splash of me. Otherwise, it's just a screen in a room. Dude, that's
Mhm.
almost poetic, man. I love that. That's super cool. And then there was another one, SRW 1000 for tonight's topic. Unlimited budget equals a balance of the two. But for us average people, performance wins out. If you're looking at the room while watching a movie, you may be doing it wrong. Interesting. So, and kind of like everything we've shared on here, ideally you don't want to do anything in your room that would pull you out of that movie experience, whether it's having too much bass or too much shake in your or your surrounds are too high as far as volume, so you're going, oh man, that was cool. As soon as you did that, you just lost that immersiveness. So it's a good idea to try to
What does
balance
this
that.
mean?
Rhinos get annoying to listen to with his overcharged disagreements. I mean, I don't think it's overcharged.
What did I
Is he
do?
talking about earlier when you got excited at the very beginning? Because again, people join at different times, so he may be at the beginning of the. Who
I don't
knows?
know.
No, I didn't take offense to it for sure. So Drew, oh, actually, I'll hit yours just in a second, Drew. Let me hit this last one here. Tarhoya says, good evening, all. Got to demo my setup for a friend this weekend who's never heard an Atmos setup, which is always a fun time. Dude, that's always great when you get somebody that they come into your room, they go, dude, that's awesome. So I think quite a few people are going to say, this is awesome once Ryan gets done with the Mad VR Experience Center. It's going to be pretty dope. Tarhoya, appreciate the $10 super chat. He says, I think when people say they didn't make compromises, it's more about they only made compromises that still check their boxes, all their boxes. With my Kefs, they have SPL limits, but are loud enough for me. So he's got beautiful speakers. He loves what they, loves how they look in his room. Are they the loudest speaker in the world? No. Do they meet his needs? Apparently so. And is that fine? Of course it is. You guys like, what are your thoughts?
I agree.
Yeah. I don't have much to say because I agree. You know, I never want to make compromises, but you always do.
Mhm.
With but I like it comes with your values and your priorities. So,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
you
So what's
know,
important to you?
for me, I'm trying to think of a good example, but
Mhm.
there's, you know, like, okay, like JTR speakers may not be the most aesthetically pleasing. Well, in the
Mhm.
front of the room, to some people, I don't mind them, but they're not artwork, you know. The front of the
Mhm.
room, they're behind a screen, so I don't
Yeah.
care. Doesn't bother me. The rest of the room, well, I'm not looking at the speakers, I'm looking at the screen, so I can live with it.
I think a
Yeah.
really common compromise is projector versus TV,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're trading a lot of times screen size, acoustically transparent screen, a lot of times for less fidelity. Or in my case, with the MadVR Experience Center,
Mhm.
the Christie Griffin,
Mhm.
35,000 lumens, less potential native contrast than, say, an NZ900,
Mhm.
right? That's a compromise. It was a direction that I decided to go. And if you go with an NZ900, it's the
Mhm.
opposite's true. I'm not considering price here, but the opposite is true, right? You don't have the ANSI contrast, and you don't have the brightness, but you have the
Mhm.
native contrast. So there's always a side to be on, regardless of what that decision is. There's never going to be this is the de facto correct answer in home theater. I mean, you could say that
Yeah.
there's a de facto correct answer, I guess. A mathematician is probably going to tell me, well, but there's always a compromise. There's always two sides, at least, in home theater.
Oh man, I just saw another macaroni and cheese pizza. Surprisingly good. I haven't tried that one yet, man.
I feel
That's
like
awesome.
Minsky's probably has that.
They probably do for sure. For sure.
Are we going to eat Minsky's this year like 14 times like we did last year?
I'm down with that, man.
Well, are
That's
you
good.
staying downtown this year?
I'll be downtown this year. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Drew says, I appreciate the follow super chat. It says, how do the registration numbers look for MWAVE? Do I need to start knocking on doors? We can always have people promoting and sharing with their Facebook and friends. We're right now with all the vendors, we should be right at where we were last year. So it's not much bigger than last year, but last year we had about 50 extra, I say extra, 50 people register within the last week of the event, if that makes sense. Like
Mm-hmm.
not a week before the event. We're talking, we had people registering the day of, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So who knows who's going to show up at the door. Next year, one thing just to give us a better idea beforehand, we'll end up doing like an early bird and then, cutoff date. And then, so that'll give us a better idea. But honestly, we're totally guessing how many more will get added after today. So we should be at least what we were last year, which we were just over, I think just over 300 total. Now that's everybody that attended.
We'll be
So
more this year.
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's also, I believe there was a surge last year in the last 30 days
Mhm.
because, you know, all of us procrastinators wait
Yeah.
and buy our tickets just in time.
Yeah. And the reality is, I mean, we didn't give them any incentive to register early.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, if I can register up to the day of, then I won't. That way, in case my plans change or something comes up, that kind of thing. So I get it. So we'll it'll help next year by doing that. All right. Oh man, a bunch of cool. All right, let's go back to the starred ones. Scroll back up here. White glove review. Hey everyone. Speaking of performance, when will Youthman or Jonathan make a how-to video on calibrating and maximizing your AVR for the best performance? Talking like house curves and all. Appreciate all of you. Now I don't do a lot with house curves. I do use a mini DSP to add a house curve to mine. Honestly, that's not my area of expertise. It'd be probably difficult for me to do kind of a walkthrough on that. I actually had help with my room. I did a decent job with it. And then Tony SOWK, he dialed into my computer. We spent probably 4 hours just tweaking it to get it in there. Sometimes I'll hook that when I'm reviewing a product. because I don't want that to influence my review on the product. And so like right now with the Anthem AVM 70 that's connected to my theater room, I don't have that hooked up, and I'm just using the internal EQ and room correction software. So honestly, not sure. I mean, of course, I'm continually adding videos. I've got 960 something videos on my channel now. So there's always options and room for exploring new territory. But I don't have one in the immediate. It's mostly reviews and show coverage right now. Salish, let me scroll down here. Just saw your super chat come in. Salish says, NVIDIA Shield Pro, or what is the latest alternative for the best audio video home theater experience? I personally prefer the Apple TV 4K over the NVIDIA Shield. That's just me.
Depends on what you're trying to do. They're all different.
So what would be maybe some advantages, disadvantages?
All of the apps are going to potentially be different on all of this different streaming devices. You would think they would be the same, but they're not. As an example, the NVIDIA Shield does not support HDR on YouTube. Apple TV does. The NVIDIA Shield supports true audio pass-through. So you get full Atmos, you get full everything through the NVIDIA Shield. Apple TV does not. The Apple TV has a much cleaner user interface than the NVIDIA Shield, in my opinion, and it's easier to use. It's easier to set up. Apple has always done very well with the user interface and the user experience. I think it's still down to those two devices. If you're not doing Plex, I would say Apple TV. That would be my recommendation. If you are doing Plex, NVIDIA Shield. And I realize that there are some workarounds and there's some hacks, if you will, to be able to do some stuff on the Apple TV. I'm not including those. Most people aren't going to do those. So that's where I would sit. I have both in my setups for that reason.
I have both. I've turned on the Shield one time and used Apple TV the rest of the time. Just Apple TV does what I need it to. But yeah,
you're not using Plex though.
No.
Yeah. There's no reason to.
The only thing that the reason I got it is I thought I was going to use it for playing like demo clips, like the Atmos trailers, and then I ended up using a Zidu for that. So that's why I've never needed it.
Hulk, appreciate the $2 super chat. Hello, will there be a projector shootout at MWAVE?
Yes.
Ryan, what is a shootout?
It's a comparison. So what it's going to happen is we're doing entry-level stuff this year. Entry-level subjective.
More affordable stuff.
We're doing mid-level stuff, I guess I should say, in the grand scheme of things. Main reason for that is the new JVC stuff came out. I'm not able to get it, unfortunately. There will be an NZ900 in the JVC room, but it will not be part of the comparison. And that's just because they're not available. I mean, if you guys remember when the NZ series first came out, it was rough.
Hard to get.
It was very rough to be able to get them. And because of that, I made the decision that we're just going to do things like the LS12000, the MP5, the NZ30, and the Sony XW5000. It just makes it easy. They're all roughly in the same playing field. The NZ30 is lower, but it's just simpler.
I think we also have, oh my goodness,
a BenQ.
Is it Andy bringing one too?
Maybe. The NZ30 technically is a BenQ.
Oh, okay.
So that's what's going on with the projectors.
Yeah, and we've done the same. Like if you came to MWAVE 2022 and 2023, we had the LS12000 from Epson, the 5000, 6000, 7000 from Sony, the NZ789 from JVC. So we've done that 2 years in a row. And the reality is not everybody can afford that, a $25,000 projector. So mixing it up should be pretty cool. But those will be in the projector. Are we having that in? Oh, that's right. We moved it to the other side this year. So it'll be in a much bigger room, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So it's on the other side. Cool. Croson, you ain't right, bro. Mercy, mercy. You're something else, Paul. Crack me up though. No brothels at MWAVE this year.
No.
Maybe next year, but I'll hit your super chat in just a second here. Haley says, has anyone tried DTSX on Disney Plus? I heard about that. I know these two haven't. Ryan doesn't have a theater and Michael doesn't use. That's whacked.
So Rusty, which have you tried it?
I haven't. I haven't watched anything on Disney Plus in a little while. I started that. What was that? Ashoka series, but I don't think that's DTSX.
Yeah.
Does anybody understand? So I've seen these announcements that, Disney's supporting IMAX, but then all the discussions about DTS, and I don't understand. Like they're going back and forth between. I don't understand the distinction between the IMAX and DTS and the way that it's being announced.
So IMAX forces some things into how you're doing, how your playback situation works. It's its own segmentation, if you will. It's not very popular though. Not like with end users, but it's not used very much yet.
I know where Rusty's going. I've heard both those formats. They mentioned DTSX. I read a part of an article real quick, but it was talking about DTSX, but then it also kind of was throwing in their IMAX enhanced. Are they?
So they're not mutually exclusive. They're separate. Right.
And that's what I think.
IMAX will force a bunch of stuff, and DTSX is its own thing. But I don't.
But the article I read was talking like whatever this upcoming rollout of IMAX is using DTSX for the audio stream. And I'm going, well, I thought IMAX was its own audio format. It's
no.
Okay.
So
it IMAX uses DTS.
Things. As far as I believe so.
It was really confusing to me.
Trust me.
I don't think anybody really understands the IMAX formats.
Somebody sent me an article. I don't think I've got it now. Let us know in the chat if you've got some thoughts on that you've read about. I'm pulling up.
IMAX uses DTS.
Okay. So I guess that's what's confusing to me too, because I didn't know.
Because I thought DTS used DTS, not IMAX using DTS.
IMAX is its own thing. IMAX is like the video side, but the IMAX enhanced is like a experience, if you will.
But it's using DTS
as the audio side,
maybe. Okay.
As the audio side, and then IMAX enhanced is forcing a 190. I thought it was based on DTS, and it's forcing certain things. I know it's like its own thing, but it's based on DTS.
There's DTS coupling. So I don't even know what DTS coupling is.
Oh, hey, look, someone who knows is explaining it.
Put it up there. Which one? 18 MCU. Tony.
And then
okay, audio's 9 full range speakers for base layer. But like, what is IMAX enhanced? Is that different than we know IMAX at like a movie cinema, like your local cinema. DTS doesn't work on Disney on the video IMAX. The DTS audio, it comes up as Dolby Atmos. Yeah.
I just don't follow.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So now it's IMAX, DTS, and Dolby.
Yeah. I think we're all as confused, even in the chat. So, yeah. Bottom line, DTSX, IMAX enhanced, neither one of them I've heard much about it. Dolby has just pretty much dominated the space. Okay, so
I don't think it uses Atmos. It uses DTS.
IMAX Enhanced applies their format codec over the Dolby Atmos bass tracks. I don't know.
The plot thickens.
That's what I'm saying. Like I think there's like an upmixing type of thing, like Aural 3D for non-native disc. But Aural 3D is its own format, though. Just like I always thought.
From the DTS website, the truly elevated immersive listening experience. To reproduce the cinematic audio experience, IMAX chose DTS to deliver that unmistakable IMAX sound in the home and on the go. DTS audio technology preserves the full dynamic range of the original mix, so viewers feel every heart-pounding moment.
So they're getting DTS. I guess it's a mystery. What the heck is IMAX Enhanced?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
IMAX Enhanced is a combination of the IMAX video experience with a locked down specific version, I'm pretty sure, of DTS. Like it's a locked.
So IMAX Enhanced only applies to the video side of it?
No, it's both.
Well, see, and that's but it's not an audio codec. It's not like its own.
No.
Yeah.
Your end device has to support IMAX.
I love this. Sounds like DTS is trying to be relevant again. For sure, man.
It's not working because IMAX hasn't really taken off.
IMAX Enhanced limited to 7.1.4. Enhances the video.
So then why are they like announcing it? It's a big deal if it's limited, if it has all these limitations.
Yeah.
Oh, 514.
I don't know.
It's even worse.
So there may be a not maybe, but Evangeliste says home theater gamer, and it's actually Elon Osborne just interviewed one of the IMAX people. It's well explained. So go check out their channels and report back to us next week what you find, because I think everybody's thinking totally different.
Oh, that's Brad, right? Home theater gamer?
Yes.
Okay.
Think of it as an IMAX audio mix within a DTS container. But again, like my brain is like, okay, what does that even mean?
So I think that's one better.
It's another logo. It's more licensing.
I love it.
More money.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, Ike, when your target audience can't even define what it is. Well said, man. Yep. So they've had IMAX Enhanced video for a while now, but they're now adding IMAX Enhanced audio as well, which is what all the new press release is about.
Well, DTS got IMAX, or not DTS, Storm got IMAX over a year ago. So it's not all that new.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So T-Rex says, up until now, Disney Plus only supported the video side of IMAX Enhanced. With this update, the audio will now be IMAX Enhanced as well. Again, I'm not excited about IMAX Enhanced.
It sounds to me like they're just trying to take credit for DTSX's work.
Yeah.
No, it's a specific version experience. It's a closed ecosystem.
Yeah.
But they're not reinventing the wheel. They're using DTS. As I understand it.
I don't have a subscription to Disney Plus, so there's that. That's why I don't watch it. MW says
my 5-year-old really cares because she's really the only one that watches it.
100%. And our kids are gone. Like, I mean, they're at least grown. MW Ryan, how fast can you charge your house? I'm sorry, how fast can your house charge your Tesla?
I mean, it hasn't changed. My truck charges overnight.
Pretty simple. Bruce, in your opinion,
I think that was a joke, but
yeah. In your opinion, is it better to have butt kickers or butt shakers? And is there a difference? I'm not sure. And I know you guys are the experts. So I don't own any of those.
If you want to go in game, either Crosons or butt kickers.
Well, what are butt shakers?
They're just different. They're more like a puck. No, there's a bunch of different brands. They're more like a puck instead of using a piston. And it's just a different design. Typically, they're cheaper. I would say if you want the best experience, go with butt kicker or Croson. Croson is probably the best, but it's also the most expensive.
I like my Crosons. I'm happy. I want more.
They are
I
So
good.
yours have actuators, right? Like they physically move.
Yeah, it's
No. They vibrate.
yeah,
Well,
it's not like a
it's not an
Oh,
actuator.
you know, I'm sorry. I'm
Not
literally thinking back.
D-box.
I'm
yeah,
thinking
it's
about
not
the
D
D-box.
box.
Yeah.
Okay,
That has the
technically, right now, D-box is the best, but it's way more expensive.
Yeah. But yeah, that's right. They've got the Crosons out. They're like a square,
Mhm.
and you plug in directly to them. And
Yeah.
Your
And it
seat
is
sits on
considered
them.
a motion actuator, but it's not like a long
it's not a
cylindrical.
piston. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
doesn't look like the
Yeah.
Sim stuff.
Lewis says, "What speaker cable do friends recommend for surround and rears for home theater?" Great question, man. What do you guys recommend?
14 gauge OFC.
Is there a specific brand?
I buy
Would you like to use?
monoprice or
It's a oxygen-free cable, and it has a good strand count. You should be fine. I just got with. I saw them earlier in chat. So shout outs to them. Ice Cable. They're going to be
Okay.
our cable supplier
Okay.
for
I haven't heard of them.
installs
Ice
and
cable?
dealers. Yeah. So they make good stuff, and they gave some wire for us to use at MWAVE. So
Cool. Appreciate it,
shout outs
guys.
to Ice Cable for making that happen. But
Yeah,
we just got with them. It as long as it's solid, well-made, oxygen-free copper with a decent strand count, and you're using the proper gauge for the distance that you're trying to run,
Mhm.
you're fine.
Okay. Now, is this a dealer line only?
Yes.
Okay. So consumers would have to get it through. So reach out to Ryan. Are you a dealer for them?
Yeah, but for the people that are looking for their own cable, just do
Yeah.
monoprice or something.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've got in my theater room. I've been running it for years.
I'm happy to help you, but you're just overtly complicating the whole situation. Just buy it yourself.
Yeah.
You don't need to buy a speaker cable through
They
me.
sell them on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay, Richard, great question here. What is green glue? I've heard it mentioned on other shows.
So green glue is effectively a decoupler that will sit between two sheets of material, whether it be gypsum, plywood, OSB, whatever it is. And it decouples the two substrates from vibrating against each other, provides a gap in between them, and provides more dampening and more mass.
Mm-hmm.
So would it be like the consistency? Is it like similar to like silicone caulk or something?
Kind of. The cool
they've
thing
got
about
some
green glue
caulk.
is it stays tacky virtually forever. So it
Mhm.
doesn't get hard. It allows things to move. So it's a decoupling thing. So you're not transferring the vibration from one surface to another. It's absorbing it because it's allowing the surfaces to move.
So you can either get it in like a 12-pack like this.
Don't use the buckets.
Don't use, that's bad.
It's a pain in the butt.
I got to fight because you probably have to scoop it out and stuff.
Yeah, it's not, you end up wasting a lot. If you've got a Menards near you or something, they sell it, and it's so much easier to use out of the tubes. It's usually you're either using one tube, or the ideal amount is 2 tubes per 4x8 sandwich.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Green glue is what comes out of my kids' nose when they are ill. I'd take them to the doctor.
And then they also have green, what do they call it? There's like a sealant that you use around all of the openings as well. So it stays tacky, and it allows surfaces to move, but creates an airtight seal.
Hulk Thing says, hello, everybody. My question is, what type of screen would you recommend for a dedicated theater, white screen or a darker shade? So there's white screens, there's gray screens. We even got almost black screens. So what kind of screen do you go with? And how do you know?
I think the de facto most recommended is going to just be white. Is going to provide the most universal.
So what are people trying to accomplish when they go with a darker screen? Contrast?
Black or black?
Ambient light rejection.
Well, yeah, that too.
Contrast.
We did some like side by side comparisons, me and a friend. just different Seymour. I think they were all Seymour screens. We did a few, and like the 0.8 gray screens, like it makes the blacks look better. The blacks are blacker, but then the whites look kind of gray. So you pick what you prefer. For me, it's white.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
You can calibrate that though, but you need more brightness. Typically, a lot of the actual gray and darker screens are going to be lower gain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have 35,000 lumens, you can pump it up.
Exactly. That's why I'm going with a gray screen.
You can go
because you can so you get that black floor or that lower black level, but then you can compensate with your
massive
ridiculous lumens. But I just wanted to go back. Ryan Kramer, I like his description of the consistency of green glue.
Yeah,
I love it
because everybody knows what that is.
It's like the booger glue. What do you say? I'm saying it out loud because sometimes people are listening.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So Ryan Kramer says it's like the booger glue that you would find in a magazine insert. That's nasty, man.
I'm not starring anymore, just so people know.
Got a couple of super chats. New Lily Cinema, appreciate the $5 super chat. My next upgrade is trying out 4 bass shakers. Any preference between the Aura Sounds or Dayton 300EX? My amp will supply 50 watts a shaker. Have y'all used the Aura?
I haven't used either of those.
Or Dayton Audio. Both those are definitely on the more affordable side for sure. I've seen them on Amazon, but I don't have any personal experience.
I feel like I wish Jonathan was here because I think I remember he did a video comparing like 3 different shakers.
Okay.
And I can't remember what 3 they were, but his conclusion was the Butt Kicker brand.
The Butt Kicker is going to be de facto the best, and Croson.
I don't think he was real fond of those. Is that what you're saying?
Butt Kicker?
No, he likes Butt Kicker.
I'm saying those other 2.
So,
but I don't know if it was those brands that he mentioned. It was some other
Aura Sound and Dayton are very common. Let me just put it this way. There is a reason commercial theaters use Butt Kicker.
Is there a specific model of Butt Kicker that you prefer,
Advanced. Is the sweet spot. It's the sweet spot.
Is that the mid-size?
Yeah.
Because there's like mini, advanced, and then like LFE.
They're more expensive. They're $200 a piece, but they'll last forever.
Well, and what I would encourage a lot of people to do, because I learned this, I guess, through MWAVE stuff, is you start chasing that tactile feeling that you get from subwoofers because you love that feeling. But, every time you add a subwoofer, thousands of dollars. Whereas for hundreds of dollars, you can get a lot of that feel for a much better price.
Yeah, so the ones that I saw, he had 2 videos. This one here, he compared the Clark Synthesis versus the Butt Kicker Mini LFE and Aura bass shaker. So check that out. So that is right click. Can I see copy link address? I'll drop it in the chat. So there's one, and then this one.
Is that from Jonathan?
And then he also compared Clark Synthesis versus the Butt Kicker Mini LFE. So, yeah, take a look at that. 11 years ago. So that's been a few years. But yeah, that's on Jonathan's channel. Good memory there, Rusty. Steve McNeely, appreciate the $5 super chat. I'm planning on a 5.1.4 home theater using KEF R series metas. KEF doesn't have aimable ceiling speakers, so will focal speakers, ceiling speakers, work okay with the KEFs? So he's got KEFs on the bed layer, but he can't aim them, and that's not ideal for Atmos. So could he use, a different brand like Focal for his end ceilings?
Steven, how tall is your ceiling? I would not use Focal with KEF. They'll sound totally different. But if your ceiling's tall enough, just put bookshelves on your ceiling and put them on mounts. Don't be afraid to screw into the speaker cabinet either. Serious. I mean,
Depends on if they're pretty. If they're pretty, you ain't putting screws in them.
I did. Didn't really compromise much. Didn't look bad.
Yeah.
Maybe Michael thought it was bad.
I couldn't bring myself. He said Kef R8, they have angled speakers.
8-foot ceilings.
But
I think Nick's right. I feel like they do have like a height speaker or a, what do they call those? An object speaker.
Oh yeah. So this is like a up firing, and he's saying maybe mount those.
Yeah.
So those would be on walls.
Those would be fine.
Let me I'll share this with you. So basically, instead of using it as an up firing speaker, it would be an on wall speaker. Let me look at the back. So they do have 2 keyhole. What I would recommend if you go, oh man.
What?
The only hard part is we mounted mine basically identical to this. It has 4 keyholes. Problem is he doesn't have keyholes down here. I mean, it's probably a pretty light speaker, so it might
you can figure out a way to do it. I mean, but there's probably a mount that's going to allow you to do something. There's going to be. Don't be afraid to screw into the speaker cabinet. It's all. It's not. It's not a big deal. Yeah. Just get some speaker mounts, some ceiling speaker mounts or wall mounts. Screw into the speaker cabinet. It's not a huge deal.
He said he doesn't want an elevation speaker.
You don't, then do it with a bookshelf, a small bookshelf. Yeah. Some bookshelves even have a speaker mount on the back. Or I don't know if Kef's does.
A quarter thread.
Yeah.
On the back sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely some options there.
I would stick with Kef though, because Kef sounds like Kef.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you can, absolutely. So Bobby, appreciate the $5 super chat. Will MWAVE attendees get to experience a Dirac art room or a Trenov waveforming room? I don't think we'll have Trenov waveforming. Trenov will be there in one of the rooms, but they won't have.
They'll be with Cinemike. They will not have waveforming.
Is Matt doing art again?
There will be art in several rooms.
Okay. So cool. You'll get to experience that.
Bye, Rusty.
Oh, okay. He said he'll be right back.
Okay.
Let's see. Margaret, this might be a dumb question, but if your AV receiver is in another room, how do you calibrate your speakers in the room? If it's a dumb question, forgive me. So the easiest way to do that is get an extension cable, like usually they use a 3.5 millimeter jack. So you would just basically buy like a 20-foot or 30-foot or 40-foot. So what I'm thinking he's talking about is like his AVR is in a rack outside in another room. Well, how do you get the microphone into the room if the microphone isn't long enough? Is that the way you're reading that?
Yes, but that can cause some problems.
Think so?
Potentially, yeah. I'm not saying it will. There's always potential as you lengthen cables and stuff like that. Oh, sure. It's a passive signal, so you are going to have fall off over the length of the cable. Sure. And if it's too low, you could attenuate the signal from what the microphone reads to what the AVR is picking up. If it's Dirac, you don't need to worry about it because you just do it through your laptop. But if it's like Odyssey or something like that, you're going to have to figure something out.
Yeah, Anthem Art does the same thing. So you hook it up to your laptop or you can run it from your phone. So
maybe time to get one that doesn't need the cable.
Oh, man. Lewis, hello. Where's your go-to site for AV racks?
Depends on your situation. There's a lot of different AV racks. Depends on what you need. I like a company called MWAVE, so MountWorks. They got a lot of really good price, but I don't think they're direct to consumer. Sanus makes good stuff. There's several different companies. that make good ones. You don't have to get an AV rack either. It could be a server rack. It doesn't have to be an AV rack. Same size.
Rusty, do you have one in your room?
Yeah, I was looking up the brand. It's Middle Atlantic's pretty popular too.
Yeah.
Middle Atlantic's popular.
There was one that was really affordable, but I think you just have to find a dealer. I don't remember.
I think
the
it's
name.
Mountworks.
No, I think it was like Red.
Red?
I think it was
Never
Red.
heard of that one.
So a tip I received after I bought a rack, because they're surprisingly expensive for what they are, or they can get, especially with all the accessories. And somebody told me to go on like Facebook Marketplace and look for like IT racks that have been where they're clearing them out. Said you can get a $3,000 rack for like $100. It just
sometimes they're free.
Or just come pick it up.
Well, because they don't want to ship them.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I mean, you get them and like, what the hell do you do with them? They're huge.
And they're all like the rack units are standardized and the widths are standardized. You just make sure you have enough depth.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to link you to one here. So Life of Bliss. Here, let's do AV racks. I remember Kyle did a video on a company called NAVE Point, or NAVE Point. So he's got two on there. There's one called Nave Point Home Theater AV Rack. So that was him installing it. Looks really nice, but I'm pretty sure like it's a more affordable type of rack. He's got a really tall one, like 42U or whatever. And then he's also installed some LED lights on it as well. So take a look at both of those. But yeah, the other one was a video on my channel. I can link you the video. It was the, I know his name is Mike. He's down in South Florida, like Southwest, had an awesome home theater. And his was very affordable. But when I contacted the brand, they basically said they're just a dealer only. So you just got to find a dealer that, scroll down real quick. I'll find, man, Youthman, you got a lot of videos. Holy cow. Not that one. Where's Mike's at? Holy cow. Almost there.
There's a couple.
Yeah, you can go ahead and
good tips here.
Oh, go ahead. Put them up there.
Yeah, I think Ron's got a good point. Make sure you check the depth, because they can get real deep. A lot of times they're adjustable, but not always.
They are, and I don't think the depths isn't going to hurt you. It just may not fit.
Yeah. And then I didn't even think about this, but music stores, I didn't know they carried racks in store.
Okay, I found it. It was the one called End Game Home Theater Tour. So he's just got a really nice setup. I'll drop that in there. Home theater tour with inexpensive. Great. AV rack. There you go. Drop that in the chat too. All right, just trying to help you guys out. Margaret, do you have a video on how to calibrate your speakers when there's okay, we got that one. Do that one. Paige, my home theater is done. Congratulations. I've tuned it to the best that I can without REW and mini DSP or DSP. I'm feeling the impacts and good explosion from the subs, but still getting a little boomy. Any advice? I think he's talking about buy a mini DSP.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would buy a mini DSP and then calibrate.
Learn how to make some adjustments.
There's a lot of things, even if it's just making a small change, that can make your low-end experience a lot better.
Well, he has REW. That's the thing.
He has REW, but if you don't have an ability to put that calibration into the subs, then I mean, you could do it with Odyssey, I guess, and let Odyssey do it. But I'd still rather do.
I'm sorry, I read that wrong. I thought he said he has. He says, I've done it the best I can without REW and DSP. Should I buy a DSP? Yes. Or at least Here was, all right, let me back up. Let me take that back. I'm with MW. I would get something like a UMic 1, learn how to use REW, and first see what's going on in your room. Then you'll be able to see, okay, do you have some issues? With that, if you have more than one subwoofer, you can try doing some different things, like just adjust the phase on one of the subwoofers, measure it at 0, take another measurement at like 90, take another measurement at 180, and you'll see which one gives you the best frequency response in your room. That could fix your issue. You can try moving the subwoofer if you have that ability. Move it to another location, take another measurement. So if you're talking about boomy, what you're basically hearing and what the REW will show is these big peaks of bass that are going to be in certain frequencies. So if you got boosted bass in certain areas, that definitely could be considered boomy. If the bass just isn't like tight, could be acoustics in the room. There's a lot of different things that can be happening there, but I'm a big advocate for getting a measurement, figure out what your room looks like on a frequency response, what kind of measurement you're getting, and then you'll know, okay, do I need to try to apply some DSP? So if you got a big null though, where it's really low, you're not going to be able to fix that with a mini DSP.
You can get a combo pack of the mini DSP and the UMic.
Yeah.
That's cheaper.
So I guess I've just always been an advocate, buy that and measure it, because you may not necessarily need it.
I think you can always benefit from a mini DSP. Doing specific delays and stuff and having granular control over the sub experience, I think it's worth it just for the learning experience, in all honesty.
Yeah.
And then then I'll get off my soapbox. I would do a UMic and a mini DSP, calibrate the subs, and then feed them to the room EQ as one sub. That's how I would do it, and I think that's the optimal way to do it.
Yeah. And you've got more than one sub, and so that's really hard. I mean, it's hard to do that just manually with no measurement software, you know. So I think
one caution for everybody though is if you're chasing single digit, the UMic 1 is not. It only goes down to 20 hertz calibrated.
What does?
The UMic 1 is only calibrated to 20 hertz.
Depends on which version you get, if I remember right.
UMic 1?
No.
What's
there's
they've got a 2.
But there's another company that calibrates them, not from
it's like
mini
CSL
DSP.
or something.
It should go to like 5 hertz.
If you get it from them. I'm trying to think of the name.
MW says to 5 hertz.
Let's find out.
Cross Spectrum's lab. Yeah, it is CSL.
Calibrated lower. That one's probably more expensive.
It's like $10 more. It's not a big deal.
Really?
So
yeah, the features for the frequency response from mini DSP is 20 to 20 kilohertz. So I would go through Cross Spectrum anyway.
And they do a better calibration because they actually calibrate your specific mic. They're not calibrating the batch.
Yeah.
And it's like $110.
So where do you get? Is that from the mini DSP website, or
no?
Is that
you actually have to buy it from Cross Spectrum. It is a UMic 1, but it's cross-spectrum.com.
And the thing to consider, if I remember right, about the mini DSP is
I didn't even notice it.
It says it's $80, but then you have to pay shipping on top of that.
Okay, their website is doo-doo.
Whose? Mini DSP or?
That's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Here, I just dropped it in the chat. Look at this thing. I did put it this way. It was so bad. I clicked on it and I thought it was a PDF document. So I just left. Legit thought that was a PDF document. Yeah. That's their website.
So there's a new channel sponsor.
Very scientific.
I mean, I hate to say it. Sorry, fellas, but yeah, y'all need some work on that.
They spent all their money on the microphones and not on the website.
I know a web guy.
But they are very reputable. Despite their janky looking website, they are a reputable company.
Yeah.
And so they sell mini DSPs here too. Sound level meters. So I've got, Dayton audio mics. And so they calibrate these correctly?
Yes.
Correct?
individually. They still charge $11 shipping.
But it'd be worth it to get a
It's
calibrator.
worth it. Yeah.
Okay. I may reach out to him.
MW, you get a calibration file with UMic, but they do their calibrations in batches. They don't calibrate the individual microphone. Like this microphone has a different calibration than this one. They don't do that. It's done in batches, if I remember correctly.
So SRW 1000 says, get to it. Cross Spectrum Labs UMic 1 calibration is for 5 hertz. It's 110 plus shipping. Great service. Cool.
Actually,
I
I
learn
need
something new every day. Well, I need to
wonder
reach out.
if they will. I wonder if they would calibrate mine if I sent it in.
I don't think it's worth it. I think it's just easier to buy a new one.
Buy another one already done.
Well, in other news, I got a UMic 1 for sale. If anybody
Hit Rusty up.
make you a good deal.
That's right. Yeah.
Next.
I always wondered why on the UMic 1 you always have this like hump at the end of the DAC. And so I always wonder, I'm like, I know that's not my room because I see it on everybody's frequency response. You know, it looks almost identical.
Yeah, and it's not there on the
so
Omni mic or my Earthworks.
Yeah, so I figured it was just it just didn't know what to do with that, and it wasn't measuring it correctly. So originally a long time ago I thought it was my room, but I'm like, no, I'm seeing this everywhere. Look for Earthworks. That'd be another.
Isn't
Earthworks is a lot more expensive.
500 range.
Depends on which one you do, but
Earthworks.
Mine I think was like 700.
Woo! Yeah,
but I do it for a living. I mean, it's
Oh, there's one for $2,000.
That's as much as that fancy Trinoff microphone, which
with the 3 probes. So
if I got that one, I would just put it on display after I was done with it.
Yeah.
The TC20 is $350.
I've got an M30.
The QTZ40MP is $2,000. There's a M20.
Those the ones you're looking at though aren't measurement mics; they're just condensers.
Oh, I see. Oh, like
those are measured. The M series are the measurement mics.
So, Ryan, when you said you had the QTC 30,
I have the M30
or M30.
So this right here. So it's $700.
Did you notice any difference in your measurements when you measure with that versus the UMic?
The main difference is its ability to get lower and its repeatability.
Maybe accuracy.
I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Close
enough is probably close enough. Like you always get the same thing every single time.
I guess that's what I meant by accuracy. Like it's.
Yeah. I mean, I've never compared it directly. I've put it right next to the UMic. One of the problems I have, or not the UMic, but the Omni mic is the Omni mic. I can't get the resolution that I can get with the Earthworks. So if I'm really trying to get resolution, and the Earthworks to go down to 2 hertz. So it just allows me confidence in the stuff that I'm doing.
Okay. Last couple questions. We'll wrap it up. Bill, I have a question. If you only have 1 sub, are there any negatives using it near field?
It's only for you.
Near field's only going to work for that one person. It's not near field for the person to the right or left or behind you. So yeah, I think you can absolutely use it, but the person in that seat is the only one that's going to benefit from that subwoofer. As far as near field, they'll still get bass. They just won't get the near field bass.
And you'll feel it coming if you're talking near field behind you. I mean, you'll feel it potentially from behind you. You're going to be able to localize it because you'll feel it.
Really?
It's if it's true near field and it's right behind you, yeah, you'll tell.
How come I don't recognize? I don't know that Jonathan's is coming from behind me.
You don't feel it in your back?
I feel it in my whole body. Like that thing is going through my body. I don't go
with just the near field on. Has he done it with just the near fields on?
No, it's probably everything.
No, then the reason you don't there is because you're using far field and near field. If you turn the near fields on and it's within the range to your body, you're going to feel the impact.
So he's saying just one near field, like that's it. Okay, I'm thinking like, okay, I guess I'm thinking Jonathan said you got a near field. I'm like, yeah, absolutely work.
If you're just using near field, you will absolutely be able to localize it. Now, is that a problem? I don't know. I mean, it's probably better for apartment setups and not having to run the bass hot because you can turn it down way low. but it's only one seat.
Mm-hmm. Okay, last two questions. Tucson says, would 2 Mirage S10 subwoofers be enough for a 12 by 14 room?
I don't even know what that is.
Mirage S2 Mirage. What is it, S20?
The Omni S2.
S10.
No, there's different versions.
Subwoofer. S10 generation. So it's
which S10? There's like 4 different versions of the S10. There's the Prestige, S10. The Omni, the FRX.
I'm not even finding it. Unless that's the, I see a KRK on Amazon. That's not it. Wisdom Audio makes an S10. That's not it. Omni. Let me do Omni. And maybe it's not a dash. Omni S10. Okay, there we go. Powered subwoofer. So yes, that's an older subwoofer. 10. I mean, here's the thing. My room is 13 by 19. So that's a little bit bigger than yours. I've got 10-foot ceilings. Don't know how tall your ceilings are. So there may be a difference of volume there, or, cubic feet, I guess. 210s wouldn't do it in my room for sure. I'm not a big fan of 10-inch for home theater. I started off with a 10-inch Velodyne. You could hear it, but you definitely didn't feel it. Then I went to a 15, and I was like, "Oh, I like this." And later on, had a better 15. Later on, had dual 15s. Once I went to 15, like, to me, that was, I don't know. For home theater, my preference is 15 or bigger, but that's just me. But not everybody can handle a 15-inch in their room. It's a dedicated room, bedroom. Don't know where you got that. He says he's got 8-foot ceilings. Very move heart. I can't see it. Oh, he said it's a very old sub. Yeah. So those are discontinued. Tucson, I love the used market. Nothing wrong with using old subs. There's a lot better subwoofers out there than the 10-inch, even in the used market. And you don't have to spend a fortune. I bought many Klipsch RSW 15s for like $200, $300. Those things have 2 15s in them. One's active, one's passive.
Tuscan, is this what you already have though?
I bought Velodyne subs. Yeah. Question: do you still have them? Do you have them? Are you looking to buy them?
14 by 12 isn't a very big room. You can get good experience out of that. You're just not going to dig low.
Yeah. And I mean, but even in that though, I mean, let's be real. I mean,
it's not a big room though.
I know. But
what?
I'm just thinking, I mean, Mirage is not known for, I've owned some Mirage speakers in the past. I had those little, I guess they were Omni. They had like a little dome on top. He said, yes, I have them just in a different room right now. I mean, definitely try them. I mean, they're small, they're lightweight. Yeah. It's not like you're moving a 200-pound subwoofer.
No, it's not ideal, but you're going to be able to get a decent experience like at 30 hertz, probably.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm
they're
saying.
100 to 200 watts, but it's what he already has. So if you time align those correctly and you're not overdriving them.
Yeah. Well, it's saying they go down to 20 hertz.
Yeah, I doubt that.
I'm just saying.
I know.
What they claim.
It's not ideal.
Yeah. Here's what I would do. If you want to put them in your room, try them, use them. Just keep an eye out for like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. There's some cool deals out there, some great deals. You don't have to spend a lot of money. For even, like I said, you're going to be buying a really old subwoofer. I've owned 10-year-old subwoofers before. But just keep an eye out and look for some upgrades to a 12. Like dual 12s would be cool in that size room.
Well, and if you're feeling a little adventurous, you want to get some used DIY subs.
Sure.
Not, obviously a little more risk, but my goodness, you can get some insane deals on those because the value on DIY stuff.
Sure.
Now, the thing to remember about DIY is you're going to have to apply all of your own DSP.
That's right.
And an amplifier. So,
Yeah, depending on how they were, but
Yeah.
set up.
In Tucson, I love 15s. I'll be honest. For home theater, I love 15s. They're great, and especially two of them. Man,
But
two
he's
of
in a
them.
really small room.
He-
I think he could get away with 12s.
Oh, 100%. I'm just saying, absolutely. Yeah, two 12s in yours. Like I said, I've got 10-foot ceilings, and I've got a little bit extra depth in my room. So, but yeah. But yeah, the thing is, they're so light. Move them in there, check them out, enjoy them. Gary, last question of the night. He said, you guys have any experience with AudioQuest HDMI cables? Are they worth the money? AudioQuest HDMI cables. What are we talking about price-wise here?
I don't know.
I know they have different tiers. So I'm going to go to
I can find out
Crutchfield.
for you, though.
Crutchfield has a pair or a 16 feet for $200. So they've got some for $40. Depends on the, oh, that's a shorter one. If you get up into cinnamon, you're talking like $400. I wouldn't spend $400 on a HDMI cable personally. You can get, I've got a 50-foot cable that's fiber optic HDMI. It's probably like $200. If it's a much shorter run and you don't have to run fiber optic, you can get them a lot cheaper than that, $60. AudioQuest does have some affordable ones.
You can get a 0.75 meter for $2,400.
Ooh, man, it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can get a good cable for a lot less money.
Oh, for
and
sure.
You're not compromising on performance. And they're nice, they're nice build quality and everything. But unless you just really like the aesthetic, which I guess fits tonight's topic. I had good luck with Rui Pro, whatever their current series is, on their fiber optic cable, 50-footer.
I'm using two of them now.
And I'm running like maxed out. What is it? 444 120 4K 120. Is that what we're doing on Mad VR?
Well, 4K
422
right?
HDR.
422 4K 120.
Yeah. So I like AV Pro Edge. They're made by Clearline. I just like supporting AV Pro Edge and Jason and Meridio and all that stuff. I think Rui Pro's okay. I've had some issues with their
yours got
optics
hot,
and stuff
right?
burning out. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It's just the experience I had. So there are the things to caution about here is I don't think there's really any one manufacturer that is going to just work all the time. Meaning you can say with 100% that it's just going to work. Meaning like you buy it and you 100% know it's going to work. I think it's sometimes you're just going to run into it.
Yeah, any of them can fail.
I also want to caution people on the thought of it's either going to work or not work, because that's not true. There are times when cables can create artifacts and you can see them. I deal with this all the time through Mad VR, where you'll see like sparkle, you'll see image duplication, you'll see like the image. Sometimes it'll just lose lock on, so it'll just flash and then it'll come back and it'll be stable for a long time. Hell, sometimes the cable will work for a long time and then it'll just start to fail. So I just want to caution people on the idea that it's either going to work or not. There are a lot of things that you may see that are artifacts, but a true cable that works is just, it'll work. I mean, you're not going to gain anything by getting a better cable. It's either going to work how it should, or there's going to be some level of artifact, or it's not going to work. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Well, and I was going to say something to keep in mind is that almost any cheapo HDMI cable works for like 1080p stuff. And then you start cranking up your bandwidth, and that's when you start running into problems. Even like I was using a pretty cheap or moderate monoprice slimline. And when I was only doing 4K 30, it would work fine.
Sure.
Started doing the 4K 120, couldn't
Didn't
keep
work
up,
fine.
and
Yeah.
started getting the blue screen.
Well,
Yeah.
there's different capabilities of cables and certifications. I mean, you may have a HDMI 1.4 cable or HDMI 2.0 or HDMI 2.1. So they're not going to be capable of the same bandwidth limitation. And then there's different ones with Ethernet and all different kinds of things that are certain spec that are needed for certain things. And you may get a cable that is supposedly capable of 48 gigabits per second, but it doesn't do it correctly. And optical cable, something that we just learned because I didn't know this, and I'm always learning things. And I think if somebody isn't learning things anymore, then maybe they need to, find something else to do. But I learned that HDCP in an optical cable is not boosted by the optics or the electronics in the cable head. So if the cable is too long, potentially HDCP can fail. And I did not know this, and it can cause black screens and all kinds of other issues with compatibility and other things in HDMI. So HDMI, if you talk to a lot of guys in the industry, is a pain in the ass.
It is.
It sucks.
It's inconsistent. Yeah.
It's like USB. Like there should be a way to do things, and there should be an overarching like certification, and like this should work, and if it has this certification, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
I know I hear people say like I get the inconsistency of HDMI, but like who wants to go back to component video and like RCA cables?
Yeah.
Like
We just wish it was more
stable,
standardized, I guess.
yeah,
and works. And if you bought a 4K 120 rated HDMI 2.1, then the thing should work at that length because you bought it at that length. You shouldn't have to figure out, well, because it's 50 foot, it may or may not work. So
the other thing to caution people on is that don't go too long on passive cables, because passive cables are not being boosted. They're
100%.
not being sent over fiber. It's just a signal being sent over passive cable. So if the cable is too long, especially with higher bandwidth signals on things like 48 gigabit per second cables, if it's too long, it will fail. So the shorter you can have the HDMI cable, as long as it's not shorter really than 2 meters, in my opinion, you're going to be good. Going under 2 meters, you run the risk of the cable running too hot with the energy injected into the cable by the HDMI bus. And there's some other stuff, but I just wouldn't go shorter than that.
And rule of thumb, 16 feet is kind of what I follow
For passive.
For don't go longer than, and that's probably even,
I'd probably even go shorter than that. I'd probably say 4 meters.
4 foot? Oh, meters.
4 meters.
That's 12 foot. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, when I was looking at doing a 50-foot run, it always worked before, but I didn't have 4K, and then a long time ago, my first projector wasn't 4K.
Well, then we were running into issues with Envy and stuff with the new projector, and
yeah. So he definitely, Phil Jones explained it. He said there's a lot of factors. Rusty talked about color space, 422, 424, 444. The higher, that gets, that's more bandwidth needed. The further the length, that, it makes it more difficult for that signal to make it.
Well, and people don't consider that different devices are using different things. Like if we talk about Envy and Xbox as an example, the Xbox is going to output at a lower chroma subsampling level than Envy will. So let's say it does 420 and Envy's doing 422. Well, now you've drastically increased from something like 27 gigabits per second utilization over a cable to something like 40 gigabits per second utilization over the cable. And that's theoretically doing the same signal. So people will say, well, it works on Xbox, but it doesn't work on this. And it's like, well, you got to look at the intricacies and see what something is actually doing to ensure that you're doing an apples to apples comparison. So there's a lot of gray in this space that people don't consider. Not that it is gray, but I'm saying that things that they don't consider that may be causing the problem. But as far as back to the original question of Is Audio Quest a good cable? Sure. Is it needed? No. But, you know, if you want some cable jewelry, it's going to look good.
Yeah.
Well, you can't fault them for that. Their stuff looks good, but get what makes sense to the budget. You're not going to gain anything by using an Audio Quest HDMI cable. I'll tell you that.
Oh, sure. Well, cool, guys. We were right at 2 hours. So appreciate y'all hanging out with us. If you can, join us for MWAVE 2024, June 21st through the 23rd. It's going to be an awesome event. We've got tickets. All the information's on the website, MidwestAVExperience.com. And there's also a newsletter. So if you want some information up to date on that, it's going to be a fun time. So we'd love to have you join us. So, guys, hope y'all have an incredible week. Anything else?
Go eat some dinner now.
All right, fellas.
Starving.
You'll have a great